Everyone, this is Professor DePaulo. Welcome you back to Psych 265 Online. And today I'm going to be talking about writing the introduction section. And so, as you can see, if you go into week one of the weekly guide, you have your to-do list, and I have assigned the introduction that's due next week, 6-7. But you really want to start working on it as soon as you can. So we scroll down here amidst all this information, all this work to do. We see writing the introduction instructions. So let's click on this and go through this in a little more detail. So this, if I click on that link, it brings me to the assignments tab where I'm going to see all my writing assignments for the semester. These are different sections of the manuscript. So we want to do writing the introduction instructions, which I've set up as a PDF file. And so here's your PDF file. And I want this to be approximately 3 pages in length, double spaced, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, the standard format. And I have it broken up into 8 paragraphs. So the first 2 paragraphs are defining the problem. So in this semester, we're going to be studying multitasking. So that's the problem that you're going to be defining, multitasking, and why multitasking is an important topic to research, and are there real-world applications for the topic studied? Well, there is. There's plenty of real-world applications for multitasking. So some of the things that come to my head when I think about multitasking is, number one, driving. Some of you drive, some of you don't drive, but as a driver, you can't really multitask effectively because the more you're doing, the less time you have to pay attention to the road and to react to any kind of incoming danger, right? Like if someone runs in front of your car and you have to stop immediately, or you have to dodge something in the middle of the road, which happens from time to time, etc. You're just not able to react because you're doing multiple things at once. And the most common one is talking on the phone, but unfortunately, another common phenomenon that happens when you're driving is texting. And as many of you probably already know, driving and texting is not a good situation. You can't really do both. Actually, you could probably talk on the phone better than you can actually text to someone while you're driving, but in this tech-centric universe that we now live in, for whatever reason, people don't talk on the phone anymore. They just text each other. They don't even talk in person anymore. They just text each other. I've actually seen people at the same table dating each other, refuse to even talk and just text each other on their phones and text, I guess, other people as well. And it was very bizarre that, that maybe they're not used to the idea of like vocalization, that you can communicate by actually talking to someone who's in front of you. But nevertheless, this is our society. And we have gone from a society that drives and talks on the phone, which is bad because you're paying attention to your phone call and you're not paying attention to driving the car, to driving and texting, which is a complete disaster because you actually have to look at your phone to text, and then you have to go back and look at the road. And by the time you glance away at your phone and go back and look at the road, you're in a car accident. So this is a huge issue that people think they can multitask while they're doing, very important activities like driving and trying to drive safely. And the research kind of shows that you can't really multitask too effectively. I mean, yeah, there's some studies that show that women are better than men in multitasking. I think it depends on the task, right? But if you think to the idea of attentional resources, so as a human being, we have limited attentional resources. We have to decide where to spend those resources. If you spend those resources texting, you have less resources to spend driving. You have less resources to spend making dinner while you're on the phone or while you're texting. You're more likely to make a mistake. You're more likely to set yourself on fire. Hopefully not, but it can happen because you're not paying attention. So we multitask all the time in society, and sometimes it can be dangerous, and yet we take it for granted. So there are many real-world applications. You also see it in the the business world, the corporate world. I've worked in corporate for a while before I ended up at BMCC. And corporate is like, they give you 10 things to do at once. And it's like, oh, do this report, do this, be on the phone call, and you just can't do it, right? So, you're working on a report and you're on a conference call at the same time. And then you have people come into your cubicle to talk to you, and it's just impossible, right? Like, you just have to keep switching. So we end up switching our attention from one stimulus to another stimulus, and we keep going back and forth. But we can't really multitask because you can't listen to the phone call and have a really engaging talk on the conference call when you're writing a report and other people are bothering you simultaneously, and people are IMing you, instant messaging you while you're doing all this too. And so it's like, what do you want me to do? Give me the priority list, like, of what tasks I have to do, because I can't do them all simultaneously at top notch. And there's been many times where I was on a phone call, but I was trying to multitask, and I have no idea what they were saying to me. And then they asked me a question, and I said something, and it was the wrong answer. And it was like a disastrous answer. People started, like, they couldn't believe I said what I said on the phone call. But the reason is I wasn't paying attention. And I may have said something in a way that I didn't really intend it. And it came out negatively, and people really didn't like that. So I got into trouble trying to multitask. And I'm sure you can bring up ideas from your own life where you've multitasked and you failed. And what I want you to do in these first two paragraphs is set the stage of why studying multitasking is important. Because of real world applications. You don't have to talk about your personal situation, but talk about society in general. Where do we get in trouble with multitasking? What are we asked to multitask? And how is it difficult? Right? And if you can find some research on it, that's all the better, right? So if you can find some research on multitasking and driving and how it's a problem, or multitasking in the workplace, this is good research you could put in here in the first two paragraphs. Now, the literature review is paragraph 3 to 7. So this is where we're focusing more on the hypotheses that we're studying. And the hypotheses that we're studying are listed at the end. They go in the last paragraph, but here they are. Females multitask better than men. GPA will be positively correlated with multitasking. Texting phone use will be positively correlated with multitasking. And age will be negatively correlated with multitasking. Obviously, I couldn't measure performance, really, because that would require kind of an experimental, in-person experiment to do this. So I just came up with these hypotheses that are fairly general. And these have already been studied. So what you need to do is look at these 4 hypotheses and now go into the literature and find some articles that deal with some of these hypotheses. And I want you to have a minimum of 5 articles total. Now, if you want to use one article for the first and second paragraph or whatever, that's fine. That can count towards your 5. Okay? Generally, people don't do too much research just introducing the problem. They do most of their research trying to set the stage of what has previously been done in the area of multitasking. And so I want 5 peer-reviewed articles through either PsycInfo or Google Scholar. That means no websites, because websites can be very casual. They're not peer-reviewed. We don't know how accurate they are. No Wikipedia either, because that's also not peer-reviewed. So I want legitimate peer-reviewed research that you can find through these 2 mechanisms, Google Scholar and PsycInfo. And I want you to find about factors that affect multitasking. And if they tie in with our hypotheses, that's the goal. You should be talking about these previous research describing these things that I have listed as the hypotheses. Now, you could talk about gender, age, GPA, impulsivity. These are all different variables that may play a role in multitasking, and we're measuring them. So even though they're not all included here, some of them are, but not all of them, you can discuss these. sleep, phone use, GPA, impulsivity. Even though I didn't directly hypothesize impulsivity, you can talk about that. Okay? So tie it in with these hypotheses and these variables that I listed here. Find research on that. So how do we do that? Well, Google Scholar is probably the easiest. So I type in Google Scholar. Here's Google Scholar. Very easy to use. Not Google, Google Scholar, because Google gives you all kinds of crap that you don't want. Google Scholar gives you peer reviewed. So you want multitasking and let's say GPA. Or actually I put academic performance. That's probably better. And I click on it and now I got a ton. I got 45,000 results. Now, obviously you're not going to go through 45,000 results. You can narrow it down if you want. So on the left-hand side, you see by date, you can narrow it down so you can find more recent articles. We don't really need patents or citations, so I can unclick these, right? That still lands me at 44,000 results. But you know, if you want more recent things, I can pick since 2016, and these are more, these are newer articles here. Now, if you don't see anything in the right-hand margin, that means that the article is not free. And so I do not suggest paying for anything. So if you're using Google Scholar, you can get plenty of free articles. You see PDF here, these are free. Okay. So I can find, wow, this one actually looks good. Does multitasking with mobile phones affect learning? I don't see any article here, but I might be able to find this if I do PsycInfo, which I'm going to show you afterwards. So this is kind of an interesting article I might want to find. If I click on all 5 versions, you see none of them are free. So I do not pay for anything, please. Do not pay for anything. I'll click on this just to see. And it says purchase PDF here. You don't want to do that. Don't pay for anything. Let's see if I can download the PDF here. And I can't. Right, that's the problem. A lot of times you're going to see articles you like, and I kind of like this article, but you can't download it because you have to pay for it. If you were on campus, logged into the library system, and you did Google Scholar, you might be able to find more free articles that way because you're logged into the library system and the library has access to things. However, if you're doing it from home, which we're all doing it right now, you're not going to get this article for free, so forget about it. Find something else. Do not just get hung up on one article and then try to pay for it. Never pay for the article because it's going to be like $25, $30. It's ridiculous. Let's go back. Here's one that's free. The subject area matter. That could be interesting. That's free. Right? So, I don't know where this is exact. This is Computers and Human Behavior. That's the journal. Here's your abstract. You can read the abstract and see if this is something that you might want to use for your paper. And it can be useful because it's talking about how academic performance is, affected by, media use. And I see this all the time in my classes that you have people that are on their phones in class, during class, and they're texting and they're looking up things on their phone. You just can't. You can't do it, right? I mean, you're in class, you're texting, looking up things on your phone. You're not paying attention to the lecture, so you're going to be, not prepared for the exams and anything you're asked to do in the future. So I already see this from my perspective, but here's some research on this from 2017. And it's talking about the university students are considered part of the net generation. And they're always engaged with digital media, digital devices, etc. And they feel that they can really exist in the world while they're, connected to social media, digital media, etc. And in reality, it does interfere with their performance, right? Their attention is limited. So just because you grew up with a phone, digital phone, smartphone, right? Doesn't mean that it doesn't negatively affect you. Fortunately, I never grew up with this kind of technology, so the sort of I mean, I still use my phone a lot, but it doesn't really interfere in my life. I can put it down, silence it, and I have no need to pick it up, right? And I purposely don't use social media because I think it's an invasion of privacy, and there's a lot of negative effects of social media. There's some positive effects as well, to be fair, but this is not something I need to do, because I'm old, and when you're old, you don't need to be digitally connected to people. I don't need to be on Twitter, tweeting out like what I'm eating for breakfast. No one cares, right? Now, some other people do this, right? I'm going to follow you on Twitter, and you're going to tell me, what you did today. So today was pandemic, and I walked around and did nothing. I watched TV. That's not really interesting to me. And I need to share my life with these people in this format. It does have its benefits, but one of the drawbacks is it interferes with your ability to pay attention to things. And so this article talks about what multitasking is and, can it be a problem? And does it affect certain subject matters more than other subject matters? So what you want to do is read through that abstract, then skim through the introduction, find things that you find interesting, right? You can skim through it because the introduction is pretty long, right? Now it's talking about different subject areas. It's giving a different list of studies here, which is not really clear to me based on exactly what they're listing here. Here's your conclusions. That's something you want to read more thoroughly. What did they find? Then actually, this is based on the literature review. This is their research design. This is their method section. So for some reason, this is not written as a traditional APA manuscript. I guess because it's going to a computer journal, so it's not fitting in the traditional APA style manuscript that I'm going to have you do. Although it does list discussion here, right? That's part of that. So I would say skip the results because this is correlation. So you probably, actually, these aren't correlations because these are too large. I don't even know what this is here. Right, but you can skip most of these are actually R to Z transforms. So basically, they took a correlation and they turned it into a Z-score, but you're not going to know what that really means. But it's kind of a measure of a correlation, and these are significant here. I'm not worried about the results so much. You can get sort of the take-home point from the discussion without even looking at all the data, because I don't expect you to be, a master of the data. But I do expect you to be able to read the introduction, the methodology, and the discussion, because you'll get from the discussion what they actually found, the take-home points. The take-home point is more important than the numbers. The numbers is something that I specifically work on all the time, and I'm going to work on it with you guys. But you need to be able to read the sort of the take-home message from the study. And so this could be a very useful study. Based on what I saw, it looks pretty useful to me. Maybe to you, may not be. So there's a whole bunch of these. I mean, you can go on forever and ever and ever. Now, if you wanted to narrow down these results, you can keep adding and. If you keep adding and, you're going to make it more narrow. So multitasking and let's try gender. So that's 13,000 results. You see a lot of things here that you can start skimming through, right? If I want to make it more narrow, and academic performance. So now I have 3 ands in here. And now I've narrowed it down a little bit more, not much more, right? There's still going to be a lot of articles because it's Google Scholar. Like basically there's so many thousands and thousands of articles written all the time that you're going to have a lot of results. Most of these don't have free articles, but some of them do. And so check out the ones with the PDFs or the full files here in the right-hand margin, and then go from there and see, what seems like it's interesting and what targets the hypotheses. So I'm looking at gender, I'm looking at GPA, which is academic performance, right? I'm looking at texting phone use, and I'm looking at age. So if you just type in age and multitasking, you're going to find a bunch of articles on age and multitasking, and go find something that's useful. So you have these 4 hypotheses here. You can really build your introduction around these 4 hypotheses through Google Scholar and PsycInfo. And I want you to briefly, for each study that you find, right? So each of these studies that you're going to summarize, each study represents a paragraph, and I want 5 paragraphs here. So I want you to basically write one large paragraph detailing each of those 5 studies that you're finding either through Google Scholar or PsycInfo. And you should shift the focus. So one paragraph should be about gender and multitasking. One second paragraph could be about age and multitasking. The third paragraph could be about, texting and multitasking. Another paragraph could be about sleep and multitasking. I mean, it could be all these variables that I'm measuring and I'm listing here. You could make one paragraph for each of these, up to 5. So I got attention, impulsivity, sleep, phone use, messaging, etc. So you have more than 5. Pick 5, write one, find one study for each of these relationships between these variables and multitasking, and then write a one large paragraph summary for these 5 studies. And that'll be your literature review. So that'll be paragraphs 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There's 5 paragraphs here. Now, to conclude, the last paragraph should state these hypotheses. So you should write something along the lines of, for the current study, we hypothesize, probably better, we hypothesize that females will multitask better than men. Our second hypothesis is that GPA will be positively correlated with multitasking. Our third hypothesis, and keep going to these 4 hypotheses. That should be paragraph 8. It summarizes the different hypotheses that we're testing in our study. And that's it. That's it for the introduction. Now, in real world kind of, publishing scholarly articles, the introduction is a little bit more complicated than this. It's not just a summary of different research and then throwing out the hypotheses. However, since you're learning, this is a very simple script to follow. And it's something that you can do. You're not going to be able to write an introduction similar to what someone writes when they have 10 years of experience publishing articles. I mean, that's not possible. I will write some variation of this script when I publish my articles, and some people will be happy with it, and other people will not be happy with it. And that's the general nature of publishing. Some reviewers like what you've done, some reviewers hate what you've done. And your goal is to change things just enough to get everybody to kind of be okay with what you've done and to approve it. You're not going to please everybody. You just can't. But for this assignment, I think it's relatively straightforward. I don't think there's really any questions. It should be double-spaced, 3 pages. I know that there's a lot of information being thrown at you each week because it's a compressed course. But I think this is a viable thing. This is not overly difficult. Now let me show you how to use the PsycInfo database from the library. So we got to go to the library. So let me go find the library website. So we're going to BMCC, and we're going into the library. So library tabs, and you see now, here's the library. The library is going to be closed, obviously. Right now it's closed, so you have to do everything online, which is fine. You want to do databases. So go to databases. And you can go down here where it says database by subject, and you can pick psychology. Hit go. And now you see all the psychology databases. Here you have the DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That's like kind of the psychiatric Bible. If you've taken abnormal psych, you plan to take abnormal psych in the future, you should be familiar with this. You have access to it here if you want it. PsycArticles and PsycInfo. They're basically the same. I generally use PsycInfo, but you can use either one, PsycArticles or PsycInfo. They're going to get you the information that you need. I just tend to use PsycInfo. That's going to bring you up to this barcode screen. And with this barcode screen, you need to enter your barcode. And so you're going to have to enter your information here into this barcode. And I don't even know where my barcode is, so I'm trying to pull up my barcode. So once you've entered your barcode, which is on the back of your BMCC ID for the library, you'll be into this thing that says EBSCOhost. Now, it's very important that if you have a problem accessing the barcode, like if you put your barcode in and you don't have anything there, that you reach out to the library staff and troubleshoot it with them. They're going to have to take care of that. They're going to activate your ID through the library system, and then you'll have access to PsycInfo. So you need that barcode at the back of your ID to really get into here remotely. So this is PsycInfo, and I can just type in my search terms here. So I can do multitasking and academic performance. So I want to look at that again. And you can see where it says PDF full text, that means they're guaranteed to have the article. If you don't see that here, you see find it at CUNY, that means they might have it. So they may have it, they may not. You have to click on this button to find out. But if they have PDF full text, you know that they definitely have it. You just click on the PDF and get it. So there's a lot of articles that are available. They don't have everything. The library system may not have everything. This is open access, so everybody has it, right? But the library has a lot, but they don't have every journal because they have to pay for each journal they have. So they may not have everything. But let's say I'm looking at this one. Okay, this is Computers and Human Behavior. I think they have this journal. I'm not sure. But click on Find It at CUNY. And when you click at Find It at CUNY, you'll see full text online. That means they have it. If they have full text online, click that. They'll have it. You don't want a print copy right now. You want a digital copy. So click on full text online. If they don't have it here, you won't see full text online. They may not subscribe to the journal. But if you see full text, you're golden. Click on that. And there's your article. And you can read the article on here, or if you want to download it as a PDF, I prefer to download it as a PDF. That way I don't have to read it immediately off the screen and scroll down. Click download the article. I don't want the full issue, the full journal. I want the article. And there you go. And this is social media use and social media multitasking on academic performance. This is perfectly relevant to what we're doing. Now, this is in China, but are Chinese students much different than U.S. students in terms of college, university learning? And the answer is probably not. I mean, they have just as much technology as we have. I mean, they have a different system of government, but I don't think that really interferes with the impact of social media on multitasking. So you can read through this and see what they found. And I'm sure they found very interesting things. You see the abstract that talks about what they found, and this is actually in Hong Kong, so their government is more westernized, right? It's a non-communist government. It's a democracy. And so you can read through this, but that really doesn't have any effect on how students learn, to be honest with you. And then, draw your conclusions based on this. So skim through the article. What you really want to focus on, once again, is read the abstract, of course, the introduction, then skim down here. This is all parts of the introduction. The method talks about how they did the study. Don't worry about the data. It's not, the results section is talking about factors, and you may not be aware of this. This is Cronbach Alpha, which is reliability. This is through factor analysis. It's going to be confusing if you don't know what these things are, so you can just skip the results. Because this is all too much. These are correlations. You might be able to interpret correlations here, right? So you can look at that. But all this stuff, these are factor loadings and stuff. You're not going to know what this is. Hierarchical regression, you won't know what that is. So just skip it. And then read the discussion, because the discussion will tell you what the results found, but it'll put it in normal English without all the numbers thrown at you. And then the conclusion, right? And that's how you know if the article is relevant. It looks very relevant to me, just based off what I've just looked at it, glancing at it. So that's how you find articles through PsycInfo, very easily like that. And then you have even other articles that are very similar if you want to go that route. And that's it for PsycInfo. So you need 5 total articles for your introduction. And for the literature review part, you're going to, for paragraphs 3 to 7, you're going to do one topic per, or one article per paragraph. And each of these paragraphs will be on a different topic related to multitasking. So paragraph 1 here could be on age and multitasking. Paragraph 2 could be on gender and multitasking. And find an article for each of those. So do that for 5 articles. And then the conclusion paragraph, and you're done. And that's it for the introduction. That's your rough draft. I'll provide you a link to submit the rough draft at. And it's very basic. I mean, it's going to require some time to actually go in and find the articles, skim through / read the articles, understand what's in the articles, and then you must paraphrase, of course. So you need to put things in your own words. Do not copy and paste from articles, because I will see that immediately, and I do not want to see that. That's plagiarism. You need to cite author, date from each article. So you're going to cite author, date form. So you want the authors of the article, the year the article was published. And you put that in parentheses, and that's paraphrasing. And discussion board 1 talks about paraphrasing because you know some people need practice paraphrasing. Other students are fine, but there are some students that just copy and paste too much. And don't use direct quotes either. This is not an English essay where they're okay using block quotes and stuff like that. This is not that. In psychology, we never use direct quotes. So you must paraphrase. You must put everything in your own words and then give credit in the form of a citation, author, date. Very basic things to do, but something that's easily messed up because I read many papers where students don't know what they're doing in terms of paraphrasing and citing. And this is a skill that you have to learn because you're going to have to do it again and again and again. And I'm more tolerant than most people you'll be dealing with. However, if I see that you're copying and pasting, you're going to lose a large number of points. And that's not good, so don't do it. And that's pretty much it for the introduction section. Hope you enjoyed that.